Cookie's junk!
I like a cookie.
Look at that. Jesus hangs out with hookers.
Yeah, and he says there's hookers in heaven, so he sounds a lot like you.
You know, it takes a different kind of man to admit when he's wrong. I know as a man and just, living through life, it's very performance based. We have a lot riding on us to succeed and do good things and say the right things when it comes time to do that. Back in January, I made some comments that I have become very regretful of. I said that the only thing that was going to make Marvel succeed this year was Deadpool and Wolverine. That's why we've been doing this entire series on the X-Men movies and why I've been having a lot of hope in that one movie, because I thought that if that one movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, failed, that Marvel would be nothing. And I've been extremely vocal on the past few months here that Marvel has been definitely falling off. They've been declining. Disney doesn't know what they're doing. And I have to admit here today that I was wrong. I was wrong about all of that because I watched X-Men 97. Hands down, one of the best things I've seen in the last 5 years. One of the best things Marvel's done ever. I knew that X-Men 97 was coming out. I saw the trailers, I saw the hype online, but I still didn't really have any hope in it. I thought that, the hype will pass, and we've seen this happen time and time again, where all these Marvel shows like Moon Knight, WandaVision, you name it, it's good for a little bit, then it falls off, people forget about it. That's how it's been for the last few years for me. WandaVision was really good, Falcon Winter Soldier really good. All of those shows kind of forgotten about, and now we're getting an Agatha show, so why should I even really care about what Marvel's doing? Because they've been just doing a lot of misfiring the last few shows. Well, that all ended yesterday when I sat down and watched X-Men 97 in one day. Less than 24 hours, I watched the entire series, and I definitely don't regret it. I started off with episode 1 at 3 in the morning. I watched that first episode, and I loved it a lot. I really enjoyed it. And then that next day, well, the same day, I guess Saturday, I was supposed to go to work. I'm not gonna lie, I could have gone to work, but my car was in the shop, and I definitely could have gotten a ride to work or an Uber, but I definitely told myself, hey, I should definitely stay home and do some quote-unquote work, and that work was watching X-Men 97 in one single day. Was it exactly responsible? No. Did I lose some money? Absolutely. Could I have gone into work? Yeah, but why would I go into work where I could sit down and watch one of the best shows ever in the last 5-10 years? I haven't had a show or a franchise do this to me in a pretty long time. Even when it came to Invincible, I was kind of watching Invincible kind of casually, and even as season 2 came along for Invincible, I kind of, just kind of chilled out and watched it. The last time I can remember me really sitting down and watching a show like this was definitely probably Game of Thrones. I think that was when I was really just binging through that whole series. Love Game of Thrones, an absolute masterpiece. Even if you include 7 and 8 season, it's really good. And the same thing here with X-Men 97, I was really devoted emotionally to finishing the show, seeing where these characters ended up. These storylines all just came to culminate an incredible climactic ending. I never would have thought that X-Men 97 would be the show that really saved the Marvel property, but it is. This is the one thing that did it. It's back to the basics, super simple, super generic, but if it ain't broke, don't fuck with it. That's all you gotta say. That's all you gotta do. And this show is super classic badassery in superhero media. That's what my friend told me when he binged the show the same day. And I have to admit, yeah, it's that classic superhero badassery that I need. So if you're wondering if you should watch X-Men 97, the answer is absolutely yes. This is definitely the best thing to ever come out for X-Men ever. Better than any show, better than any of the movies. It's the best thing ever that we've ever seen or ever gotten for the X-Men. If you have seen the show, we're going to be going on for spoilers for every episode here on out, so be wary of that. If you haven't seen the show, that's my fair warning. But if you want to avoid spoilers, definitely turn this off and go watch the show. But if you have, we're about to go through every single episode. And we still plan on going through every single X-Men movie. The next one in that series is going to be the Wolverine. But that series has been, I'm not going to lie, kind of strenuous on me. I haven't watched a good X-Men film in a little bit. This is definitely a very fun detour to go through, and one I'm very happy to dive into.
Previously on X-Men.
Cyclops.
Wolverine.
Rogue.
Storm.
Beast. Gambit.
Jubilee.
Jean.
Come on, let's go.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of rush through all these episodes here because this show really does speak for itself. There's not much I can say to really elevate it in being any better than it already is. It does an incredible and beautiful job of really laying down a beautiful foundation with the first episode, really just letting me know what the show is, what it's about, who these characters are, and why I should love them. I mean, within this first episode and this entire series, it is the same old X-Men stuff, which can be kind of boring at times, but once again, the thing that really makes these movies and these characters and this story really good is that X-Men plot. So the whole mutant civil rights and mutants being treated fairly and being discriminated against is what makes X-Men X-Men. So it has to be here. It's here and it's done really well. A way that isn't exactly refreshing, but a way that I'm very familiar with and that's very comfortable for me as a viewer. We also get Storm in this main lineup, who is really good, and also in her first 3 lines of dialogue, already better than anything in live action. I've been pretty vocal about how Halle Berry, incredibly casted, but isn't that good? And I haven't rewatched Apocalypse or the new Phoenix movie yet, but that whole reboot trilogy stuff is just not good. Storm in those movies is kind of quiet and kind of just in the back seat, which is really weird because here I'm reminded that Storm is a very good character and should be really good. Why isn't she good? It's really upsetting. And also another character that's done really badly is Cyclops. And Cyclops in this show is the best character in this show. Maybe number 2 to Magneto, but we'll get to him a little bit later. But Cyclops, within first 3 punches, is already better than the one in live action. Whether it's the opening trilogy with 2000s X-Men, he was kind of quiet there and kind of in the back seat. And also in the reboot one with Apocalypse, not good. He's also just kind of weird and very adolescent Cyclops. In this one, he's more of a leader, and it's really good. Also going into what really makes this show really good is Cyclops being one of the leaders of this team. He always really is, but really the state of the X-Men in this show is really smart. Because we open up the show here with Professor X being dead and Professor X being very absent from this main group. And it's really easy for this show to take Professor X out of the equation and have this team and this show feel very vacant, that something's missing from not having Professor X. I mean, he's one of the main characters in the entire X-Men property, so not having him is a pretty bold move, but it's one that really benefits this entire group and benefits the show because it really lets them shine as their own characters. Even as Professor X isn't in the show for a lot of the runtime of this series, his presence is still felt throughout the entire runtime. With the first episode up until his comeback with this series, his presence with this team and with this group really does ripple throughout every single member. I mean, whether it's the entire group not really wanting to look up to Cyclops as a leader, or whether it's Cyclops and Jean really just trying to leave the group after they're having their first child, but Cyclops wanting to live up to what Professor X wanted him to be. Him not being in the show adds a lot more conflict and character and depth to the story that is very welcomed. Also, the animation for the show is really good, has that 90s nostalgia aesthetic. What I mean by that is just the grain and all the static and noise that's really a thin layer of this show for a lot of it. It's very clean, nice clean hand-drawn animation look, but still has that kind of static digital noise look. Very fine grain in there, but it's there, which I really enjoy. And within this first episode, the story, the characters, and the action is all superb. Really just lets me know this show's really going to be good. And also Magneto being revealed in the end of this first episode. I was really excited to tap into him, but I didn't know exactly how good Magneto could really be. And Magneto is a character that I've always really defended, that I've really loved, whether it's the Ian McKellen Magneto being really cool, or the Michael Fassbender just really being awesome and incredible throughout all those movies. Despite how bad the films have been, Magneto has always been consistently good, but this may be the most effective version of Magneto that we've seen before. The reason for that being is that this is a much more grizzled and lived-in Magneto, one that's a lot older. He's been through a lot more stuff, and here he's tasked with really taking over the X-Men for Charles Xavier, really giving humanity a second chance. So here, it's a Magneto who's really old, but here it's a Magneto who's starting fresh. This is a more day one Magneto trying to let go of all that hate and hatred for humanity behind and walk into something new. And also with this universe being very lived in, a very seasoned X-Men universe, we know this Magneto has done a lot of bad stuff. He's a monster. He's committed genocide, killed thousands. He's a very bad guy. I'm not going to try to deny it. He's a terrorist, very horrific stuff he's done. But, still he's trying to do better, so I support him. Am I enabling Magneto to be a bad person? Maybe a little bit, but that's kind of what also makes this universe in X-Men really good, is that Magneto is a villain by all means, but I definitely see and understand what he's doing, which is a little bit horrific, I'll admit, but by all means, Magneto has every right to be a villain, and he always has had that reason to be a villain every single time. And his choice to be a villain is good, and I really respect it. But here, if he decides to be good, I'll definitely respect that decision as well. We see him obviously being charged by the human race for all of his terrorist acts, and definitely good reason behind that, but still, I still respect him. I still think that he deserves a second chance, even if he doesn't. And also what I love about episode 2 here, and just really something that every single story needs, whether you're a comic book story or whatever, a good story has consequence. It has conflict. And in this one, it's Storm losing her powers. That's a decision that's really early on, and I'm really happy with it because it shows me that the showrunners and the writers, producers, they don't care about the backlash, even though Storm comes back, later on in the series here. Still, they really respect having that boldness. They don't care about the backlash or whatever. If they wanted to kill off a character or make her lose her powers, especially as big of a character as Storm, doing it in the second episode is very bold, and I really like it. It's really refreshing. And really staying on the topic of consequence and pain and struggle with this universe, it's there, it's important, we feel it, but kind of going through 3 and 4 here with this series, it's really not exactly terrible, but still, it's kind of too safe. I mean, yeah, we get some consequence with Cyclops. He has to give up his child, him and Jean. They give birth to Nathan in episode 2. Episode 3, he has to go away, which is really sad, but at the same time, he comes back like in a few episodes, so it's kind of whatever. But still, I really do think this show got a little bit too safe, a little bit too fun. By episode 3 and 4, I was kind of like, this is kind of meh. It's kind of mid. Episode 5 in X-Men 97 is definitely just one of the most important episodes in this entire series. If episode 5 doesn't work, then this entire series just isn't good. Up until this point of episode 5 in X-Men 97, this show was just playing a little bit too safe. It was a little bit too fun. There was some consequence and some struggle, but it really wasn't there. So having a big Red Wedding, Reigns of Casimir level episode in this show was the only thing that can make me really care about this series. And just how good was episode 5 in this show? Well, at first I kind of thought episode 5 is kind of mid. It's kind of boring, kind of the same old. Nothing's really happening. And then just after a blink of an eye, this is just hands down one of the greatest Marvel moments ever in the last 10 years. And this episode also is really big in terms of the narrative of this series and just the climate of the X-Men in this universe. Almost like a Garden of Eden for the X-Men is introduced, then just like in the Bible, Garden of Eden is just wiped away from existence. That may be the thing that really makes this episode that good. Every series, like I said before, needs a big turning point episode. You need to have your Reigns of Casimir, you need to have your hero-gasm like the boys did it, which was very, very graphic and disturbing, but still, seeing superheroes have a massive orgy was somehow the saving grace of that series. I don't know how. The boys is just really weird like that. But still, with this episode, episode 5, remember it, is the point in which I almost cried. I felt chills down my entire body, seeing Gambit make his ultimate sacrifice, seeing Magneto save a child and tell the child that everything's going to be okay before the child gets absolutely vaporized and turned into dust, mincemeat. And at the very end, to see Rogue hold Gambit in her arms and then she cries and tells him that she can't feel him is just absolutely soul-crushing. I felt a dagger just absolutely pierce my entire body when I heard that line. I could have cried. I did not cry, but I really should have. Episode 5 is the episode that makes this show, and I definitely think that this is one of the best episodes really in the animated superhero show era. Maybe the best episodes of all time. It really can be, and it really is deserving of that recognition. Alright, so past episode 5 is really, once again, what makes this show really good, is that after this point of episode 5, the show has become even more of a just constant mourning and pain for these characters and for this show. I mean, kind of going into episode 6. Episode 6 is also kind of a filler episode, a little bit more of a bridge between episode 6 to episode 10. It really has to just bridge for the end of the series, so it's kind of important. Seeing that Charles Xavier is actually alive makes me really upset. Charles is always just doing random side quests and random just out there adventures for no reason. Storm also makes a comeback. I'm really happy to see that. And really just this episode is just a get back season. We're back, we're here. Spin the block for your dead homies. That's exactly what this episode feels like, and I'm here for it. Kind of like how Dune Part 2, the overall theme of Dune Part 2 is just see me in the streets. That's it. Like, I'm done fucking around. Come see me in the streets. I'm ready to put your ass on a t-shirt. That's exactly what Dune Part 2 was. Paul Atreides going Brady mode. That's what episode 6 is here. Just get back season. Spin the block for your dead homies. Let's get back to it. And then episode 6, kind of filler. Going into episode 7, a little bit more important. Episode 7 is really good as well because, like I said, the constant mourning is felt with this series up until this point. It really shows that after you do a big event like this, a massive Reigns of Castamere Red Wedding episode, killing off 2 main characters, well, Magneto's still alive, but still killing off Gambit, having this just massive atrocity happen to the mutant community, having an episode like this is really important to make this universe feel felt. You need time for your audience to breathe and also these characters to breathe and just really kind of process what just happened. That's what also kind of makes the MCU kind of a low-ish point right now. After Endgame, we got Spider-Man Far From Home, which was really a mourning episode for the Avengers who died after Endgame. But still, it doesn't feel like this universe is really healing from the blip and what Thanos did. I mean, they are to an extent, but still, it was kind of like Thanos happened, everyone blipped away, right back to work. And it's kind of weird because that was a very massive event. Trillions died, zillions died, and yet no one really cared. It was kind of just, okay, whatever, let's get back to work, save the team, bring them back. Now everyone kind of forgets about it. Not too good. We were in a post-blip era of, the MCU saga for a bit, of Wakanda Forever, Far From Home. WandaVision was also that for a little bit too, but still, what they're doing isn't as good as it can be. Not something like this, which episode 7 on is just really good in terms of just being realistic with mourning and with grief. Starting off, we have a funeral scene, which is really good because funeral scenes in cinema is just really one of the easiest things to do ever and just adds so much to a story. Specifically, funeral scenes in comics and comic book shows and movies are always banging, whether it's The Boys or whether it's Invincible, whether it's Iron Man or Captain America. A funeral scene, a graveyard scene will always be a 10 out of 10 and what really elevates an episode. And after the funeral sequence, it's really important to make the grief portrayed in this show feel real. I need to really feel what's happening in this series for me to really care about it. I mean, I only met Magneto and Gambit like an hour and a half ago, and I'm already almost crying over their deaths. The pain and the struggle for what these characters are going through felt real. It felt like I was going through it along with them, which is what makes it that much more engaging for me as an audience member. And also just the ripple effects throughout everything in this entire show, just giving it this very dark overcast of tone and themes is what makes it that much better. It's dark and it's deep and it's devoted to really telling the story the way that it should be told. Regardless of how you feel about its pacing or it being too dark and scary and gloomy, that's what we need sometimes in media. If it's not dark, then it wouldn't be real. If there's no pain or struggle or conflict, then there's no growth for this show, and it would be all too funny, sunshine, and rainbows. Just like LeBron James said, ain't no party like a Diddy party. Wait, no, ignore that. It's the wrong note. Ignore that. LeBron James said, even Cinderella lost her glass slipper, which is especially true in this series. Even the best of characters have the darkest of days, which is what makes them even better. Alright, episode 7 out of the way. Episode 8 through 10, really the big climactic ending for this series, a 3-part event. I couldn't ask for much more. This is awesome. It's incredible. Start to finish, just delivers on every single front. There's so many just incredible moments, but really the biggest one, Magneto being captured, then him breaking out of prison, then just going above Earth and turning off the entire electrical grid, magnet field, whatever of the entire Earth is just absolutely OP. This man's insane. He's crazy. I love Magneto. But like I said before, Magneto, every right to be a villain. I just completely defend everything he's ever done, even though it's horrible. Magneto deserves this. He deserves this to happen, and him to go through this and inflict this pain on Earth is what he deserves, what he's been fighting for. And Magneto probably has just one of the best moments of this entire series finale here. Him and Charles in his own head, just going over his past life and his parents trying to look into their eyes again and find their eyes, but he was too young when they died and he doesn't remember them anymore, is just tragic. It's painful. There's so much pain and layers with both these characters, Charles and Magneto, but Magneto never really got that in those series, in those previous movies. He did, but here it's done a different way that's just a little bit more effective. And then after that, maybe my second favorite thing that happened in this finale was Cyclops having to say goodbye to his son and making up for his wrongs. I didn't really mention it before, but Cyclops having to say goodbye to his child and then reuniting with his son his son, just mad at him. Why did you abandon me? Cyclops having a chance to do what his father never did in just one simple 3.5 scene is better than anything that they've done with Cyclops in the previous films. Debate a wall if you want to, it's true. And it's a moment that doesn't even feel like it's busy work or feel like it's just a clump of mess that I don't need to go through. This feels deserved and earned for clarity with myself and for Cable and for Cyclops and for Jean. Cyclops being able to say goodbye to his son and also looking to his son's eyes with his own eyes once again is just beautiful. And it's something that I really needed for this show to really have a cherry on top. And maybe perhaps my favorite thing, the thing that I really think is kind of corny, kind of eye-rolly, but still something that's really welcome in any kind of superhero adaptation, the heroes choosing to save the villain instead of killing him. Something that we've seen a lot in recent media. I mean, we see it in Spider-Man No Way Home. Meet the Robinsons does it. Meet the Robinsons a banger movie, but Meet the Robinsons does that too. Goob tried to save him, but Goob still walked away really sad. I am Goob. Goob is a really sad character, but what they did in Meet the Robinsons really good, and etc. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. The hero trying to save the villain, but the villain ultimately dying because of their own invention is really welcome, and I love that. And that's something that really does make the heroes at the end of the day, and just not like in other series. As much as I love it, Man of Steel, listen. Man of Steel, Superman snapping Zod's neck, I'll defend that till the end of my life, until the end of my days. Superman killing Zod is definitely earned, definitely justified. I'll defend it forever, but still, people don't like it, so yeah, whatever. Man of Steel did it, killing the villain. Maybe they're taking notes here. Maybe they're just saying to themselves, hey, maybe them saving the villain is a good thing. And he does that, which I definitely enjoy, but I wouldn't have minded if it went the other way. So yeah, great finale. Once again, this show really speaks for itself. Them saving the asteroid from falling to Earth is just incredibly gut-wrenching and has me on the edge of my seat. And leading up to the ending of this entire series, the cliffhanger for this series bangs, it rips, it's incredible. Love the cliffhanger. They're setting up a lot for season 2, which I can't wait for, from Apocalypse to whatever else they were setting up in that finale. There's like at least 5 different things they're going for that next season. But hey, look, I don't read comics. I don't know. Just go watch New Rockstars. Eric Voss probably has like 10 episodes up for this series already, so go watch him, not me. All right, so the series is over. Pretty good. Great show overall. Loved it. 10 out of 10, whatever. But I have to know, and I asked myself this question too, I'm asking you as well. What the fuck just happened? How did Marvel go from just lowest of the low to this? I mean, the last thing Marvel put out was The Marvels back in November, and now they released this? Like, what the fuck happened? I'm really confused. I think I found the answer. I have a few answers here, actually. And number one is just everything. Everything happened. Everything that they were missing happened. The thing that we were critiquing them for years on end, they decided to go out there and do with this series. And also number two, after just everything working, the characters, Cyclops, Magneto, Jean, Rogue, Storm, Gambit, everyone, Beast, Wolverine, they're all great. They're all incredible. They're all authentic. They all have character to them. And these are all characters who we didn't really have a chance to really get good interpretations for. I mean, Magneto, still pretty good, not exactly comic book accurate, but I can admit Magneto they did a good job with. But with the other characters, Storm, Jean, Rogue, Gambit, even Cyclops, the list goes on. A lot of these characters didn't really have their time to shine, which makes me upset. But in this series, it's kind of like a do-over for a lot of the mistakes they made in previous iterations. It really gives me a chance to really understand and love Cyclops. I love Cyclops now. Before this show, I didn't really understand why Cyclops was so loved. And then after just one single episode, just merely 20 minutes, I love Cyclops. He's one of my top 5 favorite characters really ever in Marvel right now. And also with the characters and what makes them really good is that Wolverine and Professor X take a very heavy backseat in this show. Yes, they're still there. Yes, they still have awesome, incredible moments. Wolverine's still awesome and fun Wolverine. And also Professor X, still Professor X, so I love him. But still, I think it's very apparent that for the showrunners and for the writers, this show, to be good, needed to have Professor X and Wolverine take a heavy backseat. Even way back in pre-production, they definitely knew Wolverine and Professor X, they've had their time to shine. We need everyone else to be good for the show to be good. And that's very welcome here. Look, I love Wolverine. I'm a big Wolverine fan. I mean, my name's literally Logan. Why wouldn't I love Wolverine? And Professor X, he's fire, but I can admit, they've had their time to shine. They've had many movies, even Logan being a Wolverine and Professor X movie. Literally. So, yeah, I'm not mad at them taking a backseat with those characters, and it really elevates everyone else. And also the animation is just scrumptious. It's incredible. It's not the Spider-Verse style, but it's still, the classic hand-drawn animation, that static in there too kind of animation, which is really good. And also the score, the music for this show is just immaculate. It's scrumptious. I didn't pull out my Shazam at all this entire show, but if I did, it would be like 10 or 20, 50 times. So altogether, really just the characters, the story, the action, everything, the score, the animation, altogether, it's just a classic badassery story. Everything works. It's back to the basics. If it ain't broke, don't fuck with it. And that's exactly what they did here. And that's exactly why it's really good. My final score for X-Men 97 is an A. Not an A+. If it was an A+, it would have had like 10 more episodes. But still, it's an A. It's really good. I love it so much. I can't wait for season 2. And I can't wait for just anything else that Marvel touches, because now I'm really excited. And I'm still going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. Comes out in about a month here. Still very excited for it. But I've already come to peace with knowing that Deadpool and Wolverine will never be as good as X-Men 97. Back in January, I thought that Deadpool and Wolverine was really the saving grace of Marvel. But I've already come to peace with knowing that Marvel's already saved. It's already good. They're good now. They're all good to go. If you're telling me that Marvel needs to make like 2 more Captain Marvel solo films and like 5 more Ant-Man movies and like 10 more Thor Love and Thunders for 1 good season of X-Men, I'm fine with that. That's okay. It's no big deal. I'll do that. Well, that wraps it for this episode of the Court of Cinema on X-Men 97. Let me know what you thought. Did you love X-Men 97? You probably did. You probably thought it's a masterpiece just like me. We're still doing the series on the X-Men films, even though I don't want to. I still have to do it. So Wolverine's up next. And, this is a quick little detour, a definitely much needed retreat detour. That's it. Stay up to date on everything Court of Cinema by following us on our socials down below in the show notes. If you like what we're doing or even hate what we're doing, leave a review down below on whatever platform you're on. It helps us out. Keeps the lights on. It keeps the fridge full. None of this is really possible without you as a patient listener. I want to thank you for that. Until the next time I talk to you, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more movies, and of course, I'm your host Logan, and I'll see you guys in the movies.